Коллеги, добрый день.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you very much that you joined us here in the room and online. I will tell you about the system which is called a little bit bulky, PnP-Radar and setup of technologies. The most unclear thing here is PnP. It means patent and non-patent, which may make you think that it's something strange and different from the classical patent analytics. Secondly, PnP means plug and play, without any need of any complicated setups and fine-tunings. I will make it black and white in my presentation. If you need something to clarify, please feel free. But after the main part, for questions and answers. First, I will make my lecture, and then we can discuss all unclear things with you. What is the system and why is it needed? If briefly, this is patent analytic to a new area of its application, management of development and researchers of the Russian Federation by region or area. Logical preconditions of the system are the following. There's a huge repository of valuable information which can significantly improve the results of developments in Russia. This is the global patent information, and it's very good to implement it very well for managing designs and developments. But it's really difficult to say. This information is hard to interpret and understand. So in order to select and implement big research projects, we try to do without it. The patents are written on unclear language. They contain a huge amount of different parameters and settings. So it's very important to, and the most important development procedures go without it. The value of patent information is disclosed by 1 or 2%, but this system is able to improve this percentage significantly, and there are preconditions to correct the situation and implement absolutely new system of information analysis. And if we can do this, the patent analysis and non-patent information and additional contours of business analytics would allow to get the following, which is written on the left, to select R&D for funding. Patents add a lot of objective facts and additional analytical dimensions when decision making for sure will be useful in order to understand whether you should start this R&D or not. Second thing, R&D executives, very deep research component can get additional technical information to correct R&D plans in alternative branching points. It is possible to reveal strength point of R&D, and from the very beginning of R&D activity, the developer should understand the potential of commerciality and disclose this potential as much as possible. Without in-depth analysis of patent, it's difficult to say, even if impossible. Fourth thing, complicated business analysis of patent and non-patent information should help to clarify the optimal configuration of markets, and it would be advisable to know about this configuration long before the R&D finishes. The fifth thing, of course, we should address properly the intellectual property. During R&D, it relates to patentable decisions, and it refers correct configuration of patents which are needed for full-fledged support, which was discussed heavily today. And if you take a look in detail at those 5 benefits indicated in the right side of the slide, you can notice that they completely refer the topic and R&D criticality, other than intellectual property. And this is not accidental. If we take it as a black and white picture, this is not about intellectual property at all. In IP management and proper definition is there, but these components are not critical ones. These are about absolutely new applications where the system never applied or this application was insignificant. And I deliberately will stick to this contrast format of my lecture to avoid illusion that this is something which we know about IP. We can just take some tasks in a very well-known atmosphere and roll it out to the R&D management, but it will not work. It is necessary to seriously replenish patent analytics with adjacent disciplines, for example, forecasting of technologies up to 15 years upfront, technology scouting and other instruments. And this is absolutely unusual, but at the same time incredibly precious use of patent information for the sake of different kinds of tasks. And this message should be outlined and be a red line across the whole presentation for you to remember during the whole my lecture. Using this system on a regular basis will have significant impact. Developing of Russian developments and designs balanced with the global level of research in the major and leading companies. This is revealing the potential of commercializing Russian products both in the Russian country, in the Russian territory and abroad. This is the increase of demand for industrial products in Russia, a reduction of dependence on import parts, and revealing perspective areas of cooperation with R&D centers who enjoy necessary competences in the field. This system is unusual. That's why I'm going to have a special talk about it. First, we should introduce some fixed notions. If we don't do this, we will face a lot of questions. Why patents? We can analyze them anyway. They are being analyzed anyway, considered anyway, and other questions like that. Since this is an information system, it has a lot of mathematics, we should introduce a number of axioms. Say, if you remember the school program, and we should also introduce the consequences of these axioms. The first postulate, the first message is that patents contain a lot of precious information, and the criticality of this information is first that the patents contain unique content which never exists anywhere. It's unique because the global patent system makes companies to disclose, otherwise you won't be able to get the patent. Second thing, it's quite harder due to analytics, but it is still possible. Patents is a proxy to reveal the company business strategy. Company pays a lot of money, around $40,000 to get a patent in the US. So it is necessary to analyze topical collections of patents in a way to be able to retrieve those business strategies. And we can confidently say that having thus developed and good contacts and good mapping of business strategy does not exist. Only patents can provide this good basis. Second message appeals to the first one. Since this is a precious information from the technical content point of view and from the point of view of the business strategy, it would be good to use as much as possible this importance in managing research and development. Since it's all precious, we really need objective analytical support in different locations. In-depth patent analysis in conjunction with other mature tools would allow to have more objectivity in setting priorities for science and technology development. It gives information which characteristics should be required in R&D requirements. Sorry for this repetition. We will be able to create the objective contour for R&Ds and comprehensive project in order to implement in the program of our research and development. Also, we can disclose the commercial potential from the other angle, and this potential can be much higher than may seem to the executive or R&D tasks. Looking at these tasks in the left and remembering that patents are related to the high value, it is quite unexpected that no one analyzes patent with the proper depth of analysis. And it is more about poetry. I'm not bringing up here any illustrations which is declared as the patent analysis in our place. You can find it easily in the web, and many actors show it, and you can see it there. It is necessary to use special methodologies and intellectual patent analysis tools, not just to calculate them and to say that the number of patents is growing or dropping. No. but we don't know what's in there. Or we can say, look, this is the rating of patent holders, and why those companies patented. What do they patent? We don't know. Coming from the previous item, we can conclude under figure 4 that this analysis seems to be really complicated. It's not clear how to approach it and how to carry it out. Patents are written in an unclear language. They contain a lot of measures for analysis, and all smart systems, we should pay the contribution to it. We should pay tribute to them who work in Russia. They step back, and they just show the increase or decrease of patents, or in a better case, make the clusterization of patent texts without providing a description of the value of patents according to item 1. Message number 5, which you should negate or support. Since this is a complicated task, you should have a proper approach and proper projection of this. I'm going to tell you more about the coverage sphere, coverage area. The system provides different competence centers, patent analytics, marketing, technological road mapping, and other expertise centers. The system implies implementation of these things not in an empty place. We won't be able to raise the system in an empty place. I can tell you what is expected from those competence centers, which will be attracted for further functioning and implementation of system PnP-Radar in the constant operation mode. The following methodologies are needed, and experiences needed, and special techniques are needed to be able to bring the highest value of patents with deeper understanding of patent peculiarities and our experts. More than 100 different analytical dimensions are related to patents, which create hypercubes for data mining. Those practices and experience should be focused not on the IP tasks, proper solution making, but to absolutely different class of tasks in managing the research and development. And it would be great to make it as diverse as possible. Disclosure of commercialization potential, R&D, and others. It would be great that those methodologies and practices have a serious practical support, at least to make sure that they work properly on practice. Good project of big companies, feedback of customers who implemented those practices in their operating environments. There shouldn't be methodologies that were not seen by everybody or heard by anybody. They should be approved in Russia and in the world. Special statuses and qualification support in the global level, and other signs of approval of the global community. And it is also advisable, optional of course, but also important, that those methodologies have a very good level of scientific development, a good level of publication in subject matter magazines, ability to work with patents in different dimensions, develop methodologies for the whole life cycle of patent analysis, and also analysis of other types of information, for example, articles or profile resources in the internet. When I was preparing this material, I encountered an article, 5 advices how to select a surgeon. It is very much in line with my previous message. In the world related to developments and researches, there are a lot of different streams, unclear systems, analysis results which we don't know how to implement at a strategic level without saying about the operational activity. So we need very simple illusions, what is good and what is bad. And if we go away from this stupid situation that someone is selecting a surgeon in the internet, first we should check those 5 items which are shown on this slide. Message number 7. For the overarching support of research and development, it's not enough to have only one, even in-depth patent analysis. So it would be good to make this analysis integrated and piloted in the real conditions and integrated with other tools of foresights and research and development, maps, scouting of technologies, marketing research, support of transfer technologies, and other tools and techniques which are proven and have been used for a long time by research and development centers in the Russian Federation. Pillar number 7 is the most problematic for its apprehension, but we should accept that this in-depth analysis of patent analysis, already integrated with other management tools of research and innovation in Russia, does not exist at all. And what we call patent analysis, even in a complicated patent system, does not allow to disclose the value claimed in Pillar 1. And the result is that it would be good to create the system and implement it in the research and development management in Russia. Since within this tool, we will be able to accumulate a huge amount of precious information for different industries and freedom group of technologies, different tasks. It would be great to create an automated system which would ensure consolidation, semantic linkages, and further dissemination of knowledge. And the intensity of getting new patents is extremely high. Around 8,000 new patents a day are received. Now let's move to the system coverage domain. What kind of tasks it should solve and what artifact it should produce. On this slide, we show very high-level ecosystem of China on development of magnetic levitation system when the train is not using the railroad but is levitating. There are 49 described technologies and business specialization of leading industrial companies of the world who design and implement magnetic levitation system. Only description of this map contains more than 2,000 pages, and this research is a combination of a big patent technological intelligence, R&D foresight, and development of technological radars, which characterize those 49 technologies from different angles. For example, where the cooperation is stronger between educational institutions and companies, what technologies are most precious, and so on. And the main focus is made, if you look at this slide, the main focus is on the technology of the development. If you pay attention to this slide shows predominantly technologies, not patents. The rolling stock design technology control of railroads, and this focus on technologies should be held practically for all groups of processes in managing research and development. And when you study it and know all the technologies, you can use enlarged indicators which characterize separately all technologies, and for their calculation we take all patents which relate to specific technologies, independent of they belong to one family or not. Also, it's possible when you calculate the indicators to complex patent and non-patent information in a smart way. And then, out of those enlarged indicators, you can make multi-dimensional hypercubes and design the intellectual ways of data mining. In our simple cases, build up such 2D radars. And please pay attention. There are two enlarged indicators. One is called topical width of protection, and the second one is the capturing of new market by Tencent. And 9 quadrants where these 49 technologies are distributed, which were found during the intelligence. In the left bottom quadrant, there are technologies with the coverage is low, and the coverage of new markets or capturing of new markets is also low. And on top in red are very precious and comprehensive technologies which companies are being distributed on the external market.
And these technologies, after additional review and analysis, would be the first candidates for legal reverse engineering, and there could be many of those, and the radars may be not 2D but multiple D. Say on the slide you have a 5D radar, which is based on the analytics, can also integrate foresight to show what would be the technologies to appear in the next 5 years and afterwards. And of course, you can supplement TRL layers to such radars. Regarding digital technologies, which we discussed today, if you take the consulting system perimeter, you would have the full object focus, not to miss anything important. These are the main categories where the machine learning is patented. And if you take ML and neural networks, the number of patents there, and all of that makes companies to really provide a very detailed and granular descriptions of the technologies, the interaction between the layers, and indicate the various descriptors and a lot of other valuable information that is very much detailed. And of course, you should use that for the benefit of the Russian research and development. When you are working with specific technologies, suppose this is the target of R&D, and the technology is first dissected to the smallest detail. You analyze the level of technology, you analyze individual components and units, and then you also study the interdepartmental usage. And such a detailed analysis is about its characteristics, for example, mechanical, thermal, electrical, etc., but also in relation to individual uses. For example, film condensers or construction materials. And after we really analyze the technology, we then reassemble the technology to try to understand where to sell it. And there you need to do a detailed market analysis and also develop some proposals for commercial use. A few slides how this PnP-Radar system can be very nicely built into the existing R&D SIS and 2B systems. Frame 1 is the beginning, when technologies do change very fast, and when it is very difficult to single out of this kaleidoscope of technologies what you need for your development. And we come to the first predicate, which is highlighted here in pink. And you need to provide an answer. Do we really understand where to invest? And again, sorry for this black and white, we can more or less ask the expert, and everything looks nicely. And then you get 2 or 3 expert opinions, study that through working groups and give it a green line. But as the output, you would find an R&D result which is not objectively proven. Using the PnP-Radar, you really want to provide an answer to the first question. We would like to have some objective proof of the validity of the technology. You would use patent analytics, scouting and foresight, and new math and marketing research. And in our terms of reference, we would have the prospective asset as the target of R&D, some unique product which is on a par with the world levels. And this is where we want to go. The power of patent analytics starts to be visible when R&D is only in the preparatory stage, and not when as of day it is almost done. It would be good to have only two kind of like outputs, good or bad, but then you would have a lot of bifurcation, and some are good and partially bad. And I am using the image of a cadaver from the book of the Strugatsky book of The Monday Starts on Saturday. And this is the cadaver that there was a person who was inventing the cadaver and who was to be on top of humans. But maybe that person, Vibigalo, the inventor of the cadaver, never used the patent analytics, and that's why he always had those quite bad outcomes. Now on the left you have the unconfirmed and non-objective result of R&D, and then you use a full data set of the tools that are on a par with the global equivalents, and R&D really never started yet. And on the lower track, we follow what the analyst believes. We don't know that 8,000 inputs are being fed into the system, and on the lower track, everything is okay. Painted analytics and adjacent tools are looking for certain solutions and partners for cooperation. And modern R&D is quite complex, and you need to cooperate only with established centers of competence, which in most cases we don't know about. And here we have the first cadaver, when we did not react at the previous stage, but now we wanted to do everything properly. And that is why we have this balanced development, but actually on top of unconfirmed and non-objective R&D. Frame 3, when you culminate for the lowest track with the most of the challenges, we had the R&D in a poor environment with a lack of information, and the markets are actually identified by the developer itself. The top track, where you use PnP-Radar system, you have patented tools and adjacent instruments to diversify and to find any latent applications of the product, and also conducted a deep analysis of the markets to find the commercial use. Here we also deal with a patent protection. So for the top track, you have a good IP asset with the proper way to the markets and commercial use, and with a lot of cadavers in the lower two tracks. We actually cover the full line and process. We do the RD, we prepare the RD for commercial and industrial use, putting this into the market and conducting constant improvements. We can constantly reduce the risks that are really crossed with the red crosses on the slide. Three quite vivid examples, that is how to choose a project for financing within a program. When you have a very well-developed financing proposal where all the indicators are nice and the target for R&D is very nice. This is a helmet for motorcycles with the voice assistant and environmental analytics. But patent analytics actually can really look into the project and say that this is really a helmet which is too heavy, and this is a helmet which is available actually from Alibaba and AliExpress, and this is not something novel. Second proposal can be continuous and expensive project, but most of the breakthrough and disruptive R&D projects are done in total darkness, and you always follow something unknown. The IT system architects offer their ways which they want you to follow, and all those proposals are good. And then after long hearing of various proposals, managers do have a minimum of information, and they have to choose out of 3 or 4 alternative options, and you don't know whether you chose right, and you would only understand that a year later when R&D is over and the complex semantic storage would not really be able to keep all the data, and your processing vessel would be leaking or something of a similar disaster. And the patent analytics combined with the other management tools would help you come up with a lot of objective data, which the implementers of the R&D can use and make decisions at the crossroads point, and RD can be going on for 2 or 3 years, and patent analytics can more or less supply the inputs for that. Those could be registers or technologies and some precious decisions for reverse engineering. And this is the error in the down left-hand and the bottom left-hand corner. During the life of the R&D, there could be up to 6 million inputs, new inputs for the project. And again, you have also to focus on all the areas and directions of your efforts, but you need to focus your key developers on significant architectural solutions or safety solutions and security solutions that you simply cannot mandate to anybody else. At the same time, there are some scopes of work that you can outsource, or you can simply buy an off-the-shelf product, and then you would be optimal in your distribution of the assets and resources. But where do you find those resources, and how do you understand that those would really match your overall project? Patent analytics can help you find the target companies who possess the technologies and use the additional characteristics to mobilize such technologies in full or in part, or you can buy a company which has the appropriate technology. This way you can replace the costly development from the scratch, the green technology, and you probably can use a ready-to-use solution. Take robots for subsea production of oil and gas. By the way, the companies, the foreign companies, they are patenting such solutions and can offer those even for some amusement parks like Disney World, etc. And this way, some of the parts of those robots can be used for other purposes. Now, the structure of the system, the architecture of the system of PnP-Radar. It was a warm-up before, but the PnP-Radar is an information system using ISO IEC 2382-2015, which is about information technologies, terms and definitions. This is a system of information and data processing working together with the organizational resources such as people, technical means and financial resources that provide for the retrieval and distribution of information. Well, the system is being developed and you have people and technical support in the system or a call center, but there are systems where this burden on the administrative resource is much higher. And in the context of the PnP-Radar system, this means refocusing to the methodological support and organizational support to ensure consulting support and management of development, and also identifying the interaction between people, business analysts, marketing specialists, etc., within the perimeter of the system. This is not a simple information system as we used to think of. It is suggested that within this perimeter of consulting services, you would have many different disciplines, like professional analysts with world renown, business analytics, patent experts, foresight experts, mapping experts, scouting, technology scouting experts, technology transfer experts, lawyers in IP, marketing professionals, and many other professional teams and plays. And the list is open and would be augmented by the people with proven competencies and skills. Like if you go back to the slide of how to choose smartly a neurosurgeon. The concept and the system is quite complex, and that's why we decided to go ahead with the development of the concept for that. We are done with the volume 1 of that, which describes the infrastructure and the tools of the system with the methodologies and standards of complex IT systems put into that. And given the complexity of the system, we also did some desk work to study the development management. And it is also important for the current knowledge management systems and in the development of the highly intensive systems. Conceptually, the architecture of the system is presented here on the slide. It is very fine print there, but the top layer would be the group of management of processes, and there you have regional, federal, and other level programs, identification of the subject matter of various R&D, and 3 expert groups: preparation to industrial use and the market launch. Consulting services. Here we're identifying the key tasks which are set by the system, like validation of technologies of global level, search for counterparts and partners, etc. Well, you can later on take a better look at this slide. I understand that presentations will be made available by the organizing committee of this conference for all. Then you have foresight, scouting, marketing. Down there below you have those multidisciplinary teams of professionals, and then down there still you have those architectural system architectural solutions. The system itself is quite unique. If you are only allowed like 3 unique features, and this is the knowledge repository which accumulates knowledge about the current state of Russian and foreign developments. Second, unique scenarios and consulting support. And third, the subsystem of artificial intelligence, which provides for search and navigation and solution. And this is something that I'm going to talk about later. The functioning of this system can be presented in 2 crosscuts, if you like, as consulting support for the management tasks and the functional approach. The first approach is like a matrix. So in the columns you have groups of processes of management, the identification of programs, the choice and selection of projects, and the preparation of production, etc. And 13 consulting support services all in all, using the PnP-Radar system. In the cells you have the key artifacts to be developed through such consulting services to the benefit of the particular management group. For example, for this cell, the project initiation team, the patent landscape as one of the support services can generate key artifacts and attributes, the key holders of key technologies, the examination of characteristics, and the register of local and global characteristics.
13 types of consulting support proposing for realization of the system are shown on this slide. On one hand, you can see how diverse is this palette. On the other hand, this list is also open for replenishment and additions, and as the system develops, new consulting support will be added to this list aimed at the improvement of efficiency of research and development management. For each of those 13 consulting support types, the concept provides detailed description of all sub-processes of the development. The type of consulting support is shown as a scheme of actions, as it's shown on the background of this slide. Every process, each sub-process of the design, is described by the black box of the development notation. And sub-processes have their inputs, management inputs or management controls, mechanisms of transformation and outputs, or as they called, artifacts. On this slide, we show the example for a sub-process. On the forefront, the topical formalization, which is one of the sub-processes for the patent landscape development. You can see inputs, the proposals for funding of R&D or project to include in the research and development program. You can see controls, mechanisms, and key artifacts distributed by 3 groups. In the cross-section of functional system distribution, there are 7 subsystems shown on this slide. The most complicated and unusual will be then disclosed later. The key architectural element of the distributed knowledge depository is the big knowledge model. Under the knowledge, we understand in this system the main information which appears in different places and during execution of different controls, interim artifacts, metadata which appear in course of implementation of each of the type of consulting support. This is a big knowledge model, provides ontological representation in the form of concept and semantic connections between them. And for the information which are accumulated in this distributed knowledge repository, we provide linkage to one or several elements of the big knowledge model. This linkage is uses the Fawcett principle, and the requirements to the distribution repository are determined based on GOST standard, GOST 31 to 1005 system management. Now, this model contains more than 240 concepts characterizing different areas of management, subject matter areas, and a lot of other concepts which are organized as a hierarchy. They are used to tag information for working of the system. And this concept is the basis to build up multi-factor analysis of the system. And 240 plus elements means concepts, abstract substances, and not their specific exemplars. For example, an industry is a concept, and oil and gas or energy is an exemplar or an example of this. This consulting support collection in the big comprehensive project is shown in this place for you to understand where does this multitude of concepts come from. This is the example to support the ambitious concept of a high level. And there are 5 types of consulting support. This is industrial patent landscape, scouting and intelligence of technologies, marketing research, recommendation to commercialize, determining patentable decisions, recommendations for patentation, and foresight and technologies forecast. In total 5 types of consulting support for each group of processes of R&D management. It generates a huge amount of exemplars and concepts. This, if we cite examples, this is the group for which the knowledge is formalized. What RD refers to which group? Different profiles, type of consulting support, a huge amount examples related to the model. Analysis of new application analysis on all key reports, key insights as the basis, as the result of this consulting support. Hundreds of examples of different substances on the patent landscape, hundreds or even thousands for foresight, and hundreds in other types of consulting and support. And just imagine, when you use these ensembles, you have hundreds of projects, for instance. The depository will accumulate a huge amount of very precious facts, which will be available not only to R&D departments, but to the whole community of research and developers in Russia in different technological areas in different industries. Subsystem of knowledge management provides ontological management, attributing, harmonization of elements, consistency control, what is shown on this slide. And apart from the 6 typical tasks of knowledge management, which are shown on the left, the subsystem of knowledge management will provide independence from subject matter areas, multi-level moderation, heuristical approach, and ability to learn during work of users and when new knowledge enter the repository. In order to illustrate these complicated notions with this harmonization and globalization, this is an example. Semantic technologies have been developing for more than 20 years, but they're still operating with very simple substances, persons, companies, locations, something like that. As on Salvador Dali picture, vanishing image, you just don't understand what is shown. You can't understand how many technologies and products locate in this patent. But to make a really cool subsystem of knowledge, we should take this laser. We should retrieve this laser and call it correctly and retrieve as many characteristics as possible. And system should understand and prompt you. For example, widely and rapidly tunable. For the first product is not laser characteristics. In the second case, it is correct where to stop in calling this long distribution and this focusing lens. In the third case, we need to understand that the laser distribution contains those 5 words and set the semantic succession relations between the laser and parent class, which is called track cell. And in the bottom part of the slide, just for your training, where should you stop when you want to understand the name of this specific laser? Search and repeated use subsystem is oriented on the search for information. When you already populated your repository, you should do it using a widespread system of filters, interactive scenario interaction analysis within different criteria and attributes. Also, given the very complicated nature of information and lack of any global analogs close to the system, it is necessary to implement intellectual chatbot in the system, which will guide you through this endless knowledge repository. And now it's my favorite subsystem is artificial intelligence. It's just my dream. A lot of functions are there. Not all of them can be shown here on this slide. What's important here is the widespread list of scenario of statistic and tactical management of research and development within the whole diversity of the knowledge repository, concepts, semantic links between them, and creation of new insights based on the knowledge which come to the repository and based on the scenarios of consulting support when the knowledge appears in terms of consulting. Generation and accumulation of situations. It's very important that intellectual algorithms seek for dependencies, and in the exemplar part there will be millions of examples which needs to be where hidden irregularities should be detected. Another vivid example, when you analyze patent data, you operate multidimensional space. You have hundreds of different properties. You have different things, territorial protection, location, different other parameters. And the AI should analyze data in this multidimensional space and reveal hidden anomalies by matching data against patterns or in another way. And it should be dynamically format pattern. AI should reveal regularities like is sport management. When huge massive of data are analyzed and, for example, LeBron James hits more goals and makes more approaches when he doesn't have a bandana on his head. You cannot program it from the beginning. It should be generated dynamically in course of the system operation. Next two subsystems are more clear. Their functionality is forecastable. This is location for R&D and developers and R&D controllers, and system will accumulate a huge amount of precious, unique, absolutely new information about research and development for different industries, for different industrial companies, leaders and managers. It wouldn't be correct to limit it only to the R&D controls and R&D executive. It is proposed that the system will realize an open knowledge portal about prospective development and designs. And a profiled access to this portal will be given to all Russian designers, who will find a lot of facts and information for their developers, and to harmonize their developments with the global level of technology development, specifically in this subject matter area where they are working. A migration strategy to prospective system has 3 stages. Within the first stage, a prototype with limited functionality will be designed with the full development of key precedents and the most difficult scenarios. The second stage implies the creation of the full-fledged version of the system, and it will go functional. And the third stage is saved for the open portal. It was segregated in a separate stage because during its design, a full-fledged discussion of its population should be organized. The discussion of interfaces, organization of information, with involvement of the whole community. The concept contains 15 categories of project risks, including organizational risks, which, in my opinion, are the most important and which are subject to the first-line reaction. It's clear how it will be operated and controlled. A proactive integration management is provided with all 10 areas of project management left. Enlarged work scope looks like that. This is apart from algorithms and practical realization. Organizational business models should be designed. Then there should be the laws and statutory instruments be developed. So-called white book should be also developed. Development of client ways for consulting support tasks and other blocks of work, which are shown on this slide. A special attention, practically to all works, should be paid to IT component. Now, there are no sectors of the economics where digital technologies don't play a significant role in the research of development part, even if it's oil and gas equipment or steam turbine equipment. The vast majority is related to interpretation and collection of information, and it is proposed that within the consulting support, a special double-sided contour be implemented related to algorithm patenting. One area will be related to the analysis of all those fashionable, intellectual, and very well thought-out things which contain in the patent documents, scientific publications, which is related to the specific R&D tasks. On the other hand, there will be recommendations to patent algorithm when bringing Russian solutions to expert market. Algorithm patentation, you heard today, this is the youngest and controversial part of patentation. We will give our recommendations to make patents, to get patents in the foreign markets with the very high quality development. Thank you very much for this incredible concentration of your attention. Thanks that you stayed till the end. We will be ready, glad to discuss PnP-Radar system till the end, having new competence centers for the benefit of the R&D developments of the Russian Federation. The only thing what is needed, we need confirmed expertise unique in its nature. If you have any questions, I'm ready to handle just a few of them, because if I understand that the faster colleagues, they are coming to restaurant area for the standing buffet. I will leave my business cards to you. We can continue our cooperation afterwards. Thank you very much. Have a good conversation during our evening dinner. Thank you. Thank you very much for this exciting information. My name is Igor. I'm from the Russian Chamber of Entrepreneurs. Well, what you did, I don't know how shall we call it. This is a thesis for a PhD or MD. This is the property of Russian Federation. It should be protected for any means. But I split 8,000 patents by 24 hours and 360 minutes. So every 5 minutes a new patent comes up. This is an incredible thing, and with 1,000 parameters, with algorithms, and we can describe a mathematical model based on that. And as a digital twin, it will work, and it will give some result, well, in course of its operation. But the client, the customer of this oracle, of this forecasting tool, I understand that there could be a rough tuning or fine tuning depending on your budget. You can get some more precise or less precise approach. We can be interested. We don't have any planning agencies, but every ministry should prove to the president that these trillions or billions will not get lost for 1,000 measures, and as a result we will get nothing. You understand? So for commercial companies like majors like Siemens and others, where they try to capture global markets, the situation is also clear. And what about the state corporations like Rostec or Vessel Building Corporation? Before going and asking for billions of funding, they have to buy it all from you on a commercial price, or embed in their system and say that we're going to guess here. We have a proven system of a digital twin which has 80% precision based on Pareto tool, not higher than that. So please do it for us. Give us the result. How can we push it, promote it to the market? What should be done, or shall the state be involved in this process? Thanks for this wide question. We've been dealing with this patent analytic for 6 years, and during these 6 years we captured a very good market segment in patent analysis of only commercial companies. We have more than 70 executed projects practically for all industries: oil and gas, petrochemicals, smelting. You can open any area and you can see, but we've never managed to position it on the state level. Although I understand from my side that the main force of Russian R&D is state support. We have different versatile R&D programs. Now they call state programs, which would be glad to give money to executives and researchers who have a potential conversation. But since the technologies are very complicated, everything changes very fast, they are just not able to do it, and they give money to those who are screaming louder or who have some levers to push. And this system that we are positioning, which we are positioning now, is oriented on the support of big major programs of research and development. These programs are very expensive. Well, they could cost 200 millions, 300 millions rubles, which are spread equally across all Russian research organizations, universities, and so on.
Well, that's okay, but the system will help you to have a qualified opinion, and that you have several quite eligible performers, but you need to choose one, and the system will help you find the solution. Talking about this Grail or Cassandra, if you like, there you need to avoid the illusion that this is going to be an automated system whereby you click a button and then you'll get the result. This is exactly why I show you the slide here, because this is not the usual system. Algos cannot really retrieve and identify and isolate information, and I don't think that within the next probably 200 years they would be able to do so. I don't think this is something for our lives. So when you're talking about some real projects for which the customer is paying and is implementing and is proud of, then this is refocusing the burden, the intellectual and consulting burden, where you take professionals and without the use of such a system, they do the analysis. That's the idea. It is not about supporting any specific development institution or a ministry, but this is when you compile a development agenda and program, and then you have to work for 5 years into the future under that program. 10 years ago, I remember I used to take part as a member of the working group of various groups of various ministries when we were looking into the projects, but at that time we used to receive many projects poorly authored, with mistakes, with poor KPIs, and you had to really discard those. And it's like, you know, R&D for dummies, and then people would read the book and would come really with to you with the programs that would have a huge income. But technologies do change quite quickly at that, and then people would bring you, like, I don't know, a composite blade which can be built into a turbine. And in Russian it says that if you don't really use that, then your production in 3 years would be uncompetitive, and in 5 years your company would collapse. And you receive those proposals like 100 a year, but you need to choose only 10 because you have financing for that. And we have the tools to help you make the decision. And we do have very good feedback from the Ministry of Education and Science and the Ministry of Economic Development. We prepare concepts and materials, and we hope that we would finally have a push, and the system is going to really be of benefit to the country when you manage the developments and innovations.